Hello, everybody online, everybody in the room. We're gonna be on page 35, lesson 3, the power of forgiveness in the way of mastery. And I'm gonna go through 2 or 3 paragraphs, go through about at least 10 minutes of material, and then we'll elaborate on it a little bit and go a little bit deeper and see how much we can do tonight. It's really important to remember that the 4 stages of truth, right? Which is, first I got to hear it and repeat it. Then I hear it a little bit more and consider it seriously with some reservations. And then I keep on hearing it over and over again until I accept it as true. So that's really been helpful to me, is to let go of that belief that as soon as I hear something, I need to believe it. As soon as I hear something, I'm supposed to accept it as true, because that just produces unnecessary strain. But the truth is, it's like, is this an idea that I'd like to be true for me? And if this is an idea I'd like to be true for me, am I willing to go through the stages to allow it to become a belief? And then when it becomes a belief, it becomes my perceived physical reality. So that's really helpful to me, because the way my ego gets me is that when I think something new or hear something new, again, I think I need to either immediately accept it and understand it before I can allow it to. And it's saying you're not going to do that with something that's completely different from what you believe. So it's a setup. As soon as you tell yourself that you're supposed to accept every concept you hear and every idea that we're talking about. But if it's just one idea that you hear tonight that you'd be willing to repeat to yourself and focus in on, that one idea could lead you to the truth. So I'm going to start off with this section that's called reactivity. Reactivity indicates the need for self-forgiveness.
Yes,
be with that just for a minute. Reactivity indicates the need for self-forgiveness. Rest assured, you will continue to project upon others what remains unhealed and unforgiven within yourself. You will continue to project upon others what remains unhealed and unforgiven in yourself. So each time you react to another, you are being given a sign that there's some kind of energy that has been presented to your awareness that you have not forgiven within yourself. Every time you react to somebody else, there's a sign that there's some kind of energy that's being presented to your awareness that you have not forgiven in yourself. So would you say that a person who's constantly reacting to everything and everybody all day long, getting upset about one thing or another, would this not be a person who has a lot of unhealed things going on within themselves? Do you know people like that? That just constantly, I know people that just constantly stay upset about something. And somebody was telling me the other day, I can't even think of who it was, and it doesn't really matter, but they were talking about, how they were just basically pissed off at everything and everybody. And that they kind of basically had it with the world and everybody in the world. And I had somebody email me not too long last week that was saying the same thing, that they're just, upset and angry, and they think they've been studying and doing what the book says do, and they're still mad and upset with everybody, and they don't realize that that's an indication that they have been doing what the book says. Is that if you're really doing any kind of sincere truth work, then it is going to make you aware of what it is within yourself that needs to be healed, where we constantly think that saying we're in the truth means that we're going to necessarily feel great all the time. And so it says if someone is critical and you react every time they are critical, rest assured you have not healed that part of your own being, that part of your own experience of being critical of others. So if I get upset about the way you're behaving, then that's still an indication of the thing that's within myself that hasn't been healed. Even though my ego would like to say, well, you're a really critical person, Jason. And I'm really upset with that. You ought to be a much more loving, forgiving guy. Well, that means that that's exactly the same quality that's unforgiving in myself. So I don't even get a chance to get a pass by acting like I'm upset because somebody else is doing something that's not cool. That's my upset is still letting me know that exact same quality is something within myself that needs to be healed. It says whether it's occurring now or whether it seems to be a pattern that you've interrupted and no longer do, you have still not forgiven yourself for having identified with that energy. whether it looks like you're doing it now or whether it looks like it's something that you used to do. If you're reacting now, then you still haven't forgiven yourself for having identified with that energy. Use your ordinary experience in each day to observe what pushes your buttons. We will give you a very simple technique for doing so, like seeing the people you don't like. If you will stay with it, it will reveal to you the energies that are in need of your forgiveness. So, as difficult as it may be, I'd like for us to be willing to have our buttons pushed. I know that's a stretch because we're so enlightened and everything. And we've gotten our act so together now that the whole idea of our buttons being pushed is a strange thought. But he says the technique is very simple. And I'll lead you through it. As you go through the day, observe when you feel as though you are in contraction. Are the muscles of your body tight? Is the breath very shallow? Does your voice become faster or louder when you speak about some energy in someone else? That is a sign that you need to do some healing within yourself. Notice that based on what I just heard, I am in some contraction right now. Because right now, my muscles aren't as relaxed as I think I would like them to be. Certainly my breath isn't deep and full. And there's certainly some things that I'll start to talk about and I'll get much more louder about. I love owning my ego more than ever before. I remember when it was like I almost wanted to be in denial about my ego and about my whatever the so-called negative feelings and emotions are. Now I rush to go, I'm in contraction right now. Why? Because I know that I have some shallow breath. I know that my muscles, where when I was in my first days of 30 years ago of spirituality, it was all, I'm great, everything is fine, I'm always wonderful, I feel unlimited, I feel happy. Yeah, there's a part of me that wants that to be true, but there's another part of me that still needs to be healed. I need to bring that to my awareness. I need to be willing to look at it so that it can be finally gone. I don't want to stuff it. I want to let it go. So it's saying to us, that is a sign that you need to do some healing within yourself. When you recognize that these kinds of signs are going on, in other words, life has presented you with an opportunity to be disturbed. I love that. Life has presented me with an opportunity to be disturbed. I look forward to being able to look at somebody and go, thank you, you presented me with an opportunity to be disturbed. Wow. Great. Imagine if you took that attitude in special relationships. Yeah, suppose you took the attitude of every time the person that you were in a special relationship with, you thought you were making yourself upset, you would say, wow, I'm being presented with an opportunity to be disturbed. So that I can see what it is that needs to be released and forgiven within myself. And if I find myself reacting to what I think of as their behavior, then that's my way of knowing that's exactly the same quality within my own consciousness that needs to be healed. You would spend 90% of your time never saying anything to anybody else about what they're doing. If you were hearing this correctly, you would not be really getting on anybody's case about anything. You would be going, thank you for showing me that what I need to be corrected in myself. Thank you for showing me what I need to correct within myself. Now, why would I have the overpowering need to try to make them aware? Well, that's my imagined need to attack. There's a part of me that wants to get them. And there's a part of me that wants them to know how upset I am with them because of what I think that they've done to me. That's my imagined need to attack, which in that case is more important to me than healing the quality within my own mind that created them in my experience and my perception of them in my experience in the first place. So it takes a really big spiritual leap, I think, for a person to get to the point that they try to internally allow themselves to be corrected more than they try to change the behavior of somebody else in order to be okay. So I'm not saying that that's easy. I'm not saying that that's going to be the first thing that comes to mind because we know it's not going to be the first thing that comes to mind. The first thing that's going to come to mind is for me to get you to change so that I won't be upset with you. That's going to be the first thing that comes to mind. But a conscious being is going, oh, I was presented with an opportunity to be disturbed, to make me aware of something that needs to be healed within myself. And so now I need to take a look at that and ask myself for another way to look at it. He's going to get into that. So He says that is a sign that there is something that requires healing. Therefore, count it a blessing if you feel disturbed. Now, imagine that your affirmation was, "I feel disturbed." That's a blessing. Wow, I feel disturbed. That's a blessing. Some of your days you would go, "I've been blessed all day. This has been one of the most blessed days that I've ever had in my life. Today, I feel disturbed. I count it as a blessing." No, now you see why you would need to repeat that over and over again, and then you would hear it and want to believe it with some reservations. Then you would keep saying it, and finally you would accept, "Oh, everything that happens to me at some level can be used as a blessing." And you actually believe that there's nothing happening to you now. Then you're not being phony positive. That's actually the way you see it. You're not just saying everything is for my own best interest. That's great to say, because at first we have to repeat it over and over again. But then there will be a day that I'll actually say, "I'm disturbed. That's a blessing. It's giving me an opportunity to free myself." I am not there consistently yet. I will admit to the group, I am not there yet consistently. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because it still doesn't change the fact that I am loved and I'm lovable and my Creator loves me. You see the difference? If your bottom line belief is that you're sinless and guiltless and holy and innocent, then you can have any kind of thought and you won't take it too seriously to the point that it will block you, because there is no such thing as sin. So I can have I can have a disturbance. I can get upset and go, "Oh, this is making me aware of something within myself that needs to be healed. Let me allow myself to have that healing happen." I wouldn't do like I used to do. God, if I was really a good person, I wouldn't be getting upset like this. I'm upset with myself because I cussed them out. I'm somehow or another, I'm not a good person because I'm mad at them. See, you don't even go there anymore. Once you start to accept the idea that who you really are is as God created you, then you can get down to business, because your self-love is not at stake. Your value is not at stake. Your innocence is not at stake. So it makes you more patient about going about doing it than it would if you thought because you were angry at people today, it means you're a bad person. That's different from, I was angry today, that's a blessing. It made me aware of something in myself that needs to be healed. But I'm still as God created me. I'm still innocent. Yeah.
Isn't that the opportunity to us to step back and ask the Holy Spirit?
That's exactly right.
Right there.
That's exactly right.
And once we've reached that point in our life, we start turning ourselves around.
That's when the turnaround happens.
Yeah, at least we're identifying it, and we're saying, "Oh boy, here we go again. What is it? Let me get a hold of this."
That's right. And sometimes all it takes is that 1 second for you not to say something you'll regret. Just that 1 second of breathing and going, okay, this is an opportunity for me to look at this differently. Or if I could just breathe and not say anything.
Engage spirit before opening mouth.
That's what we're trying to get to.
Engage spirit.
Okay, any questions or any comments or anything anyone want to say about these paragraphs that we just covered? Anybody doesn't understand what we just heard? So that means that we're going to see our disturbances as a blessing.
I'm going to try.
Okay, there you go. There you go. I'm going to try. I'm going to give it a good shot. If you're upset about something in someone else, what does that mean?
It's something that I have unhealed in myself.
Right. Even if everyone responds and says the same answer, every time you pull it back out of yourself, it really makes a difference in impacting your consciousness. So based on that, what would be could anybody share something that they know needs to be healed in themselves based on something that happened recently or today?
Where to begin?
Yeah, brother.
I know.
You don't have to just say, based on what you just said, I know I need to really be more patient. Or I really, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what I got upset about, So whatever it is I'm getting upset about, that's the thing that I know I need to have healed in myself. So does anybody have anything? Control. So what was it that upset you that you saw?
Being out of control.
That somebody was out of control?
No, I don't have the control.
Okay. Thank you. Has there been anything that anyone else has done to upset you?
Yeah.
Okay. 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 That's what I'm talking about too.
My son, the choices that he makes. So to be less attached to his choices and his journey, because I want to try and get him to do it the way I know he should do it, because that would be better for all of us.
Of course.
Yes. So letting him have his way of doing things without getting sucked into it.
Okay, so reverse it, and how would that look? It would be
that I can allow him to be free in his journey without getting upset.
Okay. Now, the way that he was talking about, use it for an example. You said you were getting upset about the choices he made.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, based on what we just heard, then what you would do is you reverse it and say, I get upset. I still get upset about the choices I make.
Okay.
Okay.
That's very
it's the reversal law, and that's how you undo anything. That's why you can use judgment to your advantage. Like if I was to really be honest about what I was upset about with somebody else and don't hold back, I would have gotten a beautiful example of what it is I need to take a look at in myself. You know, it's like sometimes I'll make myself upset because I think that my children do not show enough interest in me and what I do. Mm-hmm. I am not showing enough interest in me and what I do. And here's the other part. Wow. I am not showing enough interest in them and what they do. Now I'm corrected.
Okay.
You follow me? That's the way you do the correction. You go, oh, they're not interested in me. Oh, I'm not interested enough in them. Yeah. And I'm not interested enough in myself. And then if I really want to go for the prize, I go, and I'm not interested enough in God. Mm. And I, you know what I'm saying? They're not giving me enough attention. I'm not giving myself enough attention. I'm not giving the Creator enough attention. Now your mind is corrected. Okay. So anybody else care to say anything that they thought they was upset about? You notice I didn't even say you were supposed to even like try to figure out how you were going to fix that. Mm-hmm. Notice that I said that you wanted to just get in touch. And the minute you go, oh, I get upset with myself about the choices I make, your ego is going to go, well, what were those choices? And try to get you to analyze it. And that's the trick. It's just to get in touch with the fact that they're getting you in touch with the fact that you want to start being more conscious about your choices from this point on as much as you possibly can. Not to beat yourself up about all the times you weren't conscious of your choices.
Or not beat myself up about the choices I'm making, because it's not so much what I do, it's how I make myself feel about it.
That's right. Absolutely. Because everything that we're doing, we're always doing it for a feeling. That's what's so deep. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's the feeling that we think we're going to get through the things that we want, that we're really after. You know, I want the feeling I have in a relationship. I want the feeling I have if I have a fulfilling career. I want the feeling that I would have if I knew my abundance completely. I want the feeling I would have in a loving relationship. So everything we're doing is so that we can actually have some type of an experience. And then the physical thing that we choose is the thing that we think is going to give us the experience. And that's where the error comes in. Mm-hmm. Because we could save ourselves a lot of time by just cutting out the middleman and going straight for the experience of love. But then I say I got to have it through you, and then that's where I screw up. Because now I've got to get you to give it to me. Where the truth would say you do it like this. You ask for the experience of love, and then you allow that desire to create the form that is going to come to you through the easiest, which may not be how you decided. It should come.
I've done such a good job thus far.
Right. Anybody else have anybody upset them about anything that they would care to share? Yes.
Sure. I'm really nervous to speak in group, so I'll just.
That's right. Just
go
put
ahead
it
and
out.
do it.
There you
just
go.
Do it.
Just
do
it.
it. Just do it, girl.
Might pass out or black out in the next.
That's
point.
okay.
No, so there wasn't really an action, but I've been really frustrated by my roommate. Just his presence makes my skin crawl.
Okay, my roommate's presence makes my skin crawl. Okay, very slight reaction.
Yeah. Just a little. It's been really like, wow, what it is he's narcissistic. And I was like, I'm just going to create a story about him. Like, what is this? And I created that he's narcissistic, and anytime he's like, oh, how's your day? And you're like, fine. He's like, well, my day. And he'll just, it's to express his own, whatever he wants to talk about. Like, he's not really present with me or people.
Okay.
And so I thought, like, wow, when am I not present? And when am I seeking to just be heard and to show someone I'm good or I look good or make myself look good, yeah.
Awesome. And it's hard to believe that that's the first step, that if you would just be willing to go, oh, I'm getting, like you said, I'm getting upset with his narcissism, right? Where am I narcissistic? He's letting me know that there are parts of me that feel the same way, that there are parts of me that wants to be the center of attention. And just in saying that, one of the reason why the healing happens is because you've now taken the projection off the other person and your focus off of them, and you put it on your own thinking, which you really don't think you really have any control over, right? So now you're in a position of power. So don't worry about how do I get rid of my narcissism. Okay, you're getting rid of it just by asking the question. You're moving in that direction, because a true narcissist wouldn't even ask that question. They wouldn't even go, where am I being that way? You see what I'm saying? It was all, they wouldn't even question that. So that's good.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
It was funny because it actually relieved the symptoms for a short while, and then I saw him again.
Then he reminded you again.
Another time. Yet another
action.
opportunity.
And so, I mean, it is good that I'm like, I have that awareness, and I have this awareness that just happened. I don't know where it came from, but my awareness shifted, and I'm asking these questions all the time and becoming more present, but it's not all the time. Like, I'm not.
No, of course not.
It's always
Of course not. Readiness is not mastery. So you're doing what should be done. You're repeating it over and over and over again, and it will work. It will work. You will get to the point that you will absolutely not let him disturb your peace anymore. So it's hard sometimes to get across that just keep doing what you're doing and that you're doing what you should be doing, and just be patient with yourself, because you are doing what you should be doing. And then you're asking for guidance, and then you want to make the decision that gives you the most peace without attack. So that's not saying you'll necessarily stay with him as your roommate, that you might not choose to not be with. You might go, thank you, you made me totally aware of these qualities in myself, and I'm going to work on that, and I don't need you as a constant reminder anymore. And so I'm going to now do something with somebody else. Thank you very much, though. You did a wonderful job. You see what I mean? So don't think that being spiritual means keeping yourself in situations that are miserable to you just because you know it's a reflection of something that needs to happen and change within yourself.
Yeah, it's just an opportunity maybe to look at it and move on.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else? You had your hand up.
Yeah, I noticed that I get triggered by people who act like needy. Like there's this person that was they're whiny on Facebook. It's just like, it just annoys me.
Okay, so so what does that mean?
Well, I guess it means that there's whininess within me.
I love the question. Where am I whiny? Where am I being whiny? Because if it's irritating me, then where am I being whiny? Or you could just make it even easier and go, oh, I have whininess inside myself, and so I'm going to ask Spirit to give me another way to look at whininess. Then that's really easy. You see what I'm saying? Even going beyond the question of where am I whiny, you could just own it and go, if this is upsetting me, I am whiny somewhere, and I'd like another way to look at that and another way to heal it. Then you don't have to go in your ego's analytical hunt through your past of where you're being whiny. That actually does that feel easier?
Yeah.
It feels better just to own it. Okay, thank you. I'm whiny somewhere, and I'm really, and if you really want to go for it, you would go, and that's my call for love. That my whininess is my call for love. It's my request for love. Then it actually becomes a prayer, as opposed to something that's irritating. that's where I'm whiny, and also I'm whiny with them. Because that's why I'm upset with their whining. That's my whining. I wish they wouldn't be like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my whininess in a way, you know, toward them.
So this way you only have
I hear you right to say that we don't want to go back and dig up examples in our own mind of when we were whiny.
That's the easier way would be to own that there's a part of you that is that way, and that you're willing to have it healed, and you're willing to look at it another way, more so than trying to get. Because actually, what you begin to realize is the form really doesn't matter. Like the form that made me feel whiny isn't so important as realizing that I have a part of me that I'm irritated with because it's whiny. Period. Because we're making the shift from form to meaning, form to content. See, our ego likes form. So it wants to talk about the specific thing that the person did, the specific effect. And in spirit is telling us to get in touch with the fact that the content is the same. You know, I might not do the exact physical act that you did. Maybe I'm angry because someone didn't show up on time for an appointment, and you're angry because they didn't pick you up on time. See, that's the form, but the content's exactly the same. We're angry, and that's what makes it. That's what is making us aware that it is our own quality that's upsetting us. But the ego wants to go, well, I'm not ever late for anything, but that's the form. But there are no small upsets, and upsets are different. Either you upset or you're not. The Course in Miracles says either you feel peace or you don't. There are no small upsets. They're all equally disturbing to your peace of mind. Either I'm feeling peaceful or I'm not. You know, so that's what we want to do. We just want we want to. The more you own it without blaming and condemning yourself, then it goes away faster.
I am innocent.
Yeah. Period.
So you don't even need necessarily to, because I know I find myself a lot of times going to that judgment and trying to figure out why do I have judgment against neediness
that's the
or
trick.
whininess. You know, I go into that, so I don't even need to go after.
No, that's absolutely the trick.
Okay.
That's the trick. The gift is like what Spirit was saying here. Rest assured, you will continue to project upon others what remains unhealed within yourself. See it as an opportunity to be disturbed, and that it's a blessing if you feel disturbed, because what I'm getting out of denial now. I'm getting out of denial now. Let's go to the next part. Now, turn the healing exercise. Now, I might take you through any exercises that we have to go through here, so that this won't just be an intellectual trip. That we'll actually take the opportunity to do what's being asked to do. So he says, turn your awareness from what you think is causing the disturbance, and remember the first axiom. I am the source of my experience. I am feeling disturbed. What is it in me that needs to be healed? Okay, so somebody just upset me, or rather I like to put it, I just made myself upset about somebody, and so I would immediately say, I'm the source of my experience. I am feeling disturbed. What is it in me that needs to be healed? Then begin to breathe deeply and rhythmically. Let the body soften and relax, and ask, what is it within this person's energy that is really causing my reaction? You will see it right away. Oh, they are so critical. They are so narcissistic. Criticism pushes my buttons. Then ask yourself, when have I done that to another? Where have I been critical of others? And it might hit you right away. Well, I'm being critical because they're critical. I'm being critical of them being critical. He says, or memories will come back. Distasteful memories. If you're judging them, let them come back. Continue to breathe and relax. Look upon that energy of being critical, for instance. Honor the energy of criticism. Love the energy of criticism. I'm critical and I love it. I'm critical and I honor it. See, that's really upsetting. because I want to make it bad and I want to make it wrong. And this teaching isn't making it wrong.
Right.
So it can no longer be used as a way to make me feel guilty and separate from God and love. It just took all the power out of it. You're critical. Big friggin' deal.
I like that.
You just judge me. Big friggin' deal. See, I want that to matter. You know, I want that to matter that you're upset, that I'm upset with you. I want it to matter to you that you're upset. And we were just told, and you know it must be the truth because it's opposite to everything we've already done. We already know what happens with the other way, right? We already know what happens when we beat ourselves up and judge ourselves and attack everybody around us. So this would have to be the part be what worked because it's opposite to what we've already been doing all the time. But the part of us that believes in not honoring your criticism, it tells you that this is wrong because it wants to keep your guilt going because this takes away your guilt. If you were to go, I really was judging my mother today, I was really judging my children today, I'm going to honor it, I'm going to feel it, what's in me that needs to be healed. When have I done that to somebody else? When have I been not giving them the attention that they want? I honor it. I love it. It's a creation. It's your creations coming back to you that you might embrace them and transform them. Okay, let me get this straight. We're being told that if I do see criticism and I am upset about something, that I should feel it, breathe, relax, honor it, love it, in the sense that it's a creation of mine, and then say it's coming back to me so that I can embrace it, transform it. So what you do is you just stay with it, and then he says, look at it, and then go, being critical. Yes, I can sure be critical. I can sure be critical. I've been that way in the past. I know that energy very well. Look upon a scene in your memory in which you have been the one being critical. So notice that if you want to go back, then we're being shown the proper way to go back and deal with the memory. But you don't have to choose to do that. But if you do, we're being given the steps to do it. It says, look upon it with deep honesty and sincerity and say to yourself, I forgive me for being critical. I forgive me for when I have not made the right choices. I forgive me for when I've been narcissistic. You see, it's like I immediately go, oh, you're critical. I forgive me for being critical. Oh, you're selfish. I forgive me for being selfish. Oh, you're cheap. I forgive myself for being cheap. You're not kind and considerate. Oh, okay, thank you. I forgive myself for not being kind and considerate. I honor it. I'm with it. I breathe through it. And I forgive myself for having done the same thing in the past. I forgive my judgment of myself. And then the last line is, I choose to teach only love. Watch that image dissolve and disappear from your mind. Bring your awareness back to the present moment and that person that just pushed your button. Again, you do not need to say anything to them at all. You do not need to say anything to them at all. But I got to. I got to get them straight. I got to let them know how I feel. You're innocent if you do. But you didn't need to heal the situation. Forgive them. I love this. You do not need to say anything to them at all, although you might. But within yourself, forgive them for allowing the energy of being critical to temporarily make a home in their mind. I forgive you for allowing the energy of criticism to be in your mind. I forgive you for allowing selfishness to be in your mind. I forgive you for allowing anger to be in your mind. But first, I forgive myself for my anger. I forgive myself my judgment of myself. I choose to demonstrate only love. And now I forgive you for allowing that same energy to be in you too. So, and merely ask the Holy Spirit, your higher self, to replace your perception with the truth. Ask to see the innocent light within them. Notice that this section is giving us completely practical, direct instructions about how to handle upset. And what I've noticed is that while I'm listening to it, it sounds so good and it makes so much sense, and I will still leave out of here and not do it.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I was really hearing this, it'd almost make me a cheat sheet.
I can need a cheat sheet on my
I would
hand.
scan this on a copy machine. I would carry it around in my pocket. And every time I was presented with the blessing of disturbance, which I know is going to happen, right? That I would immediately refer to this until it became such a habit that it would be my first response to upset in every situation. Why would I not do that?
Right. Why wouldn't I not do
Because I want the pain and suffering that not doing it gives me. It's all a part of my own self-hatred. It's my way of not letting me off the hook. That's why you don't do and I don't do the things, the simple things that would bring peace. It's because of a lack of love for myself. Because it would let me off the hook. That's the truth, y'all. That's why we don't practice the stuff that we hear in these books, and that's why we'll walk out and you know, and that's not a judgment, that's not critical, that's like telling us what's really going on. You know, when I love myself more, then I'm going to do this more, but it's sort of like a which comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing. It's like, but I've got to be willing to repeat it and do it with some reservations until I accept that this is the way that I deal with any kind of upset over and over again. And then he's going to get to the last part of it. He says, as you cultivate this, you will become very, very good at it. It's funny. It's like when I'm talking about forgiveness and letting myself off the hook, it's like my tongue is getting tired, my lips are getting all twisted up. It's like I can barely talk. It's like my ego, you will not say this stuff to anybody. It's weird. It's like my mouth is like going through all kinds of resistance to even saying this. That's really deep. You know, my ego's resistance is so great, it's making it difficult for me to even speak it, let alone do it. But I'm going to do it anyway. Are you with me? All right. All right, brothers and sisters. We know it's a part of us that doesn't want us to have the peace that this is offering us. So we just admit it. And then we'll go, you will be able to do it as fast as the time it takes to snap your fingers. Could you imagine getting to the point that you got over an upset in the time it would take to snap your fingers? That you would see it and you would immediately go, I forgive myself for that, and then I forgive them for having it in their mind, and then you're over it. That's going to happen one day. And then the Course in Miracles says it gets to the point that your mind automatically corrects itself without any kind of personal intervention, because you've trained it so well that the minute you're upset, it'll correct itself. So you don't have to go, I'm upset, how do I deal with it? Your mind will correct it immediately, automatically. I look forward to the day. It's happening more and more, though. To you, too. You know there are things that don't upset you that used to upset you. Things that used to drive you bananas. Now you don't even think about it. That's what happens sometimes with, I notice like with mothers with young children. They'll get so used to it, however the children are acting, screaming, hollering, running around, that they're not even bothered by it anymore. And the people around them want to take their little children and hang them out to dry. You know, and they don't, and they're just oblivious. You know, it's right because it's happened so much. They've gotten so used to it. Their mind has gotten to the point they don't get upset by it anymore. They have to get to that point where they stay upset all day long. So they get to so a parent to get to the point that they're not. But it was a time they would have gotten upset. So that's what we have to remember. If you've changed your mind about anything, and you know you're doing anything differently than you did in the past, then you know you can do this too. It goes by the same rules that the other thing you changed about goes by. You know, for whatever reason, you told yourself something different until you got to the point it didn't bother you anymore. And that's what he's saying here. We got to do the same thing with the stuff that still upsets us until it doesn't bother us anymore. And then it drops out of our physical reality when it drops out of our mind. Wow. That would be so much easier than me trying to change everybody. Even though for some reason I have more energy to try to change people than I do to do this. You know, I find myself more enthusiastic about trying to get you to be different than to get me to be different. Have you ever known you changed? Like you really go, you know, I'm really not the same person I used to be. Even though I looked like the same person, I am not at all. Because you finally did accept enough of the things you were telling yourself that you really did change your mind about yourself. And then your world reflects it. Did you ever hear that?
I was listening to your YouTube that you sent out today, I think, and for some reason it just hit me, and it was just a line, and I just kept repeating it all day long, and it was like, my only problem is my separation from God. And it was like every instance, anything, it's just my separation from God, and it just brought me so much peace of just, you know, that one line.
That's it.
That one sentence.
That's it.
That was it.
That's it. That is the only problem. Is my sense of separation from source. If the word God doesn't get you from that which created me, and it's being reflected through everything else that I see as being the problems that I have. So see, to me, that's the difference between, imagine a bathtub full of dirty water. You could dip it out with a cup, right? And that's like dealing with each individual problem and going to therapy for that and kind of get advice about that and how to handle it. Or you could reach down and you could pull the plug and watch all the water go down the drain, right? Most people like the teaspoon cup method, right? The Course in Miracles and books like this, The Way of Mastery, they're to pull the plug. And pulling the plug is every problem I have is a reflection of my idea of separation from God. That's all my problems are based on that. Every one of them. My sense of being separate from that which created me. Love, my source. But the average person isn't going to get anything out of being told that because they already think their problem is something else. And the Course says what they think their problem is the need for someone else to change. So unless you tell a person, the Course says, unless you tell a person who else is going to have to make the sacrifice, they don't hear you. In other words, if I think my husband is the problem, and you say it's really something that's going on in my mind, then that's not going to get my attention. But if I was to say, you're right, it is your husband, let me tell you what your husband is doing, and this is what you need to do to get your husband to change, you'll have 100% of the attention of the average ego.
That would make me lose my attention.
We said the average ego, not somebody who's consciously evolving and working on themselves. We're talking about the average person is looking for you to agree with the exterior condition that's bad. Like right now, it's like it's all about the healthcare thing or whatever it is. And so we don't see how it's just totally giving our power away. That we're always giving our power away. But that's what people listen to. If you project and blame, the Course even says that the world pats you on the back when you are the victim. When you go, it's being done to me. Then the world goes, yeah, you're right. Watch how important the victim consciousness is. I've had people get upset with me because I was taking responsibility for what was happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I was saying, I'm the one that's responsible for what's going on right now. And they go, no, you're not. No, you're not. It really is them. They really are doing you wrong. You know, the world wants you to blame. And if you don't, people will actually get upset with you if you are taking responsibility for what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's always a good thing to check out with people when you meet them and you're around them. How much are they taking any responsibility for their experience at all? Because you know if they're doing that, then that's a person that probably won't project on you as much either. But if they're projecting on everybody else, your specialness says you're too special. They wouldn't do that to you. But you better believe they would. They will do that to you. If you see them judging somebody else and criticizing somebody else, they'll do that to you. You better believe it. You sit around somebody, all they doing is judging everybody else. But it looks like they're not judging you. Don't you fall for that. They'll judge you too. Right? But they don't really know they're being blessed, right? With the disturbances. That's giving them an opportunity to heal themselves. But you're smart now. So you're going to get to the point that you're going to go, I'm really upset. What a blessing. Wow, I look forward to that one, don't you? That'll be a biggie. So it says, once you begin to see the light in them, you can ask the Holy Spirit, what is this critical energy in them masking? Now that's a great question. I see you as being critical, but what is that actually hiding? I always tell people, what is it that you're upset about? And then I know whatever they tell me, that's not it. Whatever they say right off the bat, I know I can take it. It's my mama and blah, blah. Okay, we can take mama off the table. What else are you upset about? Well, the people don't treat me. Okay, we can take people not treating me right. Whatever the person quickly says is the issue is always not the issue. Whatever's your first answer about what upsets you, that's not really it. He's saying, what are they really crying out for? Then you will feel compassion, for it will be revealed to you why they are hurting inside. And lo and behold, instead of being reactionary toward them, you just might be compassionate. Your choice of words and your own behavior might turn out to be different than you could have ever imagined, for through you will flow exactly what serves them. I know you know what he's talking about. Have you ever been absolutely shocked at how you didn't react the way that you thought you were going to react in a situation, and you ended up saying something that made you go, did I just say that? Because you were so sure you were going to be angry, you're going to attack, and you'll find out that you would say something that was more loving and more compassionate than you ever would have thought you would have said. That's what happens when you are practicing these principles, because once you start to get that they're upset and their quality that's upsetting you is really masking something else, he says you will feel compassion, and as soon as you feel compassion, the promise is it will really be revealed to you why they're hurting, and then you'll see a different experience happen. So I got to get to compassion, and then I'll see spirit flow through the situation. I walked in one day and one of my relatives was saying the most horrible things and was going off and was yelling and screaming at everybody, and everybody was reacting to it. And I rushed in and grabbed them and said, I love you. I can see your call for love. You're safe. You're safe. I didn't react to the form that the call for love was coming out, which was cussing everybody out. They were reacting to the form. I reacted to the content. My cousin is really scared right now. Hey, you're safe. I love you. And then he broke down and cried in my arms, because I saw that it was a call for love, not the fact that he was cussing everybody out. See, we want the calls for love to happen in the politically correct ways that we like. You know what I'm saying? So that's why sometimes when men have a call for love, it's harder to get answered, because men have a tendency to express their fear through anger. Where women feel more comfortable expressing their fear through actually breaking down and crying. But for a man, it's the ultimate sign of weakness to do that. So the more afraid a man is, the more he attacks. And it looks like he's attacking out of bravery, but actually he's attacking because he's scared to death.
So,
but that don't usually get answered too quick. If you're angry and going off, people don't usually go, I love you, you're scared, let me hold you. So it's harder in the male programming sometimes to allow yourself to get your call for help answered. And it's even more so now among young men. It's like the men, it's like they are so ridiculed if they show the slightest bit of compassion or softness that is ridiculous. I mean, they really get attacked. And they literally are called bitches. Yo, you just being a bitch. You know, you being a pussy. You know, so what do? They look as gangster as they possibly can, because that's how you protect yourself when you're a young man in the ego world. You know, but they're scared, and because they're scared and they feel powerless, they attack. Because powerless people always attack. The less power you feel like you have, the more violent you are. You know, that's the way it works. You know, so for us to start seeing it as a call for help is the way you undermine that whole system. But notice that it's seeing it as a call for help. Just like it says, what are they really crying out for? And you may only be called on to see it that way. You may not be called on to actually physically get involved with that person's experience. There's going to be many times that you're only asked to see it as a call for love. It's not saying go take them home with you tonight.
So when it says these two questions, what is this critical energy in them masking? The answer would always be fear, or whatever energy it is would always be fear.
Exactly.
And then what are they really crying out for? The answer is always love.
Right.
Okay.
That's it, always.
Okay.
And we are secret agents of spirit. So we were born onto this earth to recognize what's really going on. You know why? Because minds are joined. So anything that goes into my mind actually is going into the universal mind, right? It's like if you're filling up some water in a pot, you can pour the water over here, but the water is going to rise in the whole pot. That's what we are. We like the funnels. So when we accept the truth, it's not just going into our mind, it's going into our mind. And that's literally our function, is to walk the earth as the light of the world, because we're recognizing stuff like this. It's in my mind, it needs to be healed, and I need to see it as me forgiving them for allowing it to be in their mind. It's a reflection of what I need to let go of. They're really innocent. They're just calling for love. See, that's our function. And the promise is, if we learn how to see things that way, that we will be given everything we need. We'll never lack for anything that we need. That's the promise. But the average person obviously is not ready to do that yet. But we are. So we're being given an opportunity to really have a life far beyond our wildest imagination if we're willing to just be the light of the world. Just be the people walking around in the world that recognizes that love is the only answer. And that doesn't mean you're going to be the one that physically does anything for anybody. How do you know if you're the one to do it?
You want to do it.
You want to do it. Not only will you want to do it, you'll be able to do it, but in most cases, you won't even know you've been used. Hate to break it to you. In most cases, your ego will not get the satisfaction of knowing that you've been used. The people who've been moved by you the most are probably people who you never even knew you had any kind of effect on them. And the people you try to help consciously, the Course says consciously selected miracles can be misguided. So you actually are more likely to be harmful when you decide who to help.
Wow.
That's deep, isn't it? Because how do you know what I need?
Yeah.
Who made you God at the point that you know that you can sit down and figure out what I need and then give it to me? You know, what we can do is have compassion. Then it says, it will be revealed to you why they're hurting inside. That we'll be given all the information that we need by spirit, by our higher self. I love that. So the more you grow in consciousness, the less you give specific instructions about how people should behave, and you give them instructions about the attitude that they're supposed to have. You know what I mean? It's like our attitude is we want to answer the call for love, but the way we behave to do that varies from person to person, situation to situation, circumstance to circumstance. You might be told to scream at her. Did you know that? That the behavior spirit might say is shout at her and say, "Stop doing that," because that might be what it takes to get her to stop. But you're not coming from attack. You're coming from love. So we get caught up in the behavior. Like you're supposed to always be, if you're spiritual, you always soft and smile and kind of lazy eye. You know, now I'm spiritual. You know, and the most spiritual person in the world might be the one that said, "You know, you need to stop that right now." You know that, right? So again, it's not about the form; it's about the content. It's about where you're coming from.
I'm so careful not to try and lecture people and just listen and be supportive, and sometimes it's best for me just to shut up.
Most of the time.
Thank you very much.
For all of us.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about all of us. I have had more things solved in my life since I got into the truth and started to think it and be quiet than any things that I've tried to solve by sitting down and talking to people. I've seen relationships heal that I absolutely could not heal by talking ego to ego. But practice this stuff and watch the person go, you know what? You know, I've been thinking about it. You know, maybe it was another way I could have handled that than the way I handled that with you. And I just be, you know, really? Yeah, because you talk higher self to higher self. You know, the person you want to heal with, you might just have to imagine yourself having your higher self talking to their higher self and bypassing each other's ego altogether. The party art is temporarily clashing because really they aren't outside of you. That's what's so deep. To really get that when you look around this room, you're still seeing your own mind. You're still seeing your own self. And then here's another powerful psychological thing you could do. When you look at another person, say, this person is all of it. You are all of it. You are all of it. Notice that just by doing that, I've expanded you far beyond a limited separate self. You know, you are all of it. Because see, I'm used to trying to see me as all of it. I've been programmed to work on, well, you see yourself as one, see yourself as unlimited. Another way to speed yourself along really, really fast is to start applying it to everybody else. Like going, you are all of it. You are creating everything that's happening to you. You are innocent. You are unlimited. You are all of this. Just try that. It'll blow your mind what will start to happen when you start to see everybody else, not as a body, but say, you are all of this.
I try when I meditate, and everybody wants you to see a light. But I try and see people, and then I see their spirit. Then I put all these spirits together. Next thing I see all the spirits coming from China and Russia and whatever.
Yeah, and Lodo.
And
Lodo. It's also coming from Lodo.
Whatever, but that's what I try to do. I try to
because
it's all about oneness, and it's all about not being separated from God. But we got to realize that we are God. We are some of us are God.
Yes.
So when I see you as all of it, I see you as God.
That's
and
right.
Then I see me with you.
And see, what's so cool about what you just said is the content is you and I joining.
Yeah.
But the way you did it was your own individual way. And that's what I always try to support with people all the time. That we all have our own individual curriculum. The way that we come to the realization of our oneness. And so that's why you don't try to control other people, because their way of coming to the realization of their oneness with you would be faster their way than your way. So by trying to get them to do it your way, you're actually slowing down the process of the peace you want with them. See, the way Earl would do it is very different from the way most people would do it. But it's taking me to the same place that you're trying to go to. But if I try to do it your way, which isn't my natural way, I'm actually slowing down the process. So I always try to ask people, what do you want? What is it that works for you? How could I support who you are? Then most people don't know who they are because they don't do that kind of work. So it mystifies them when you say that. Because they're actually used to people trying to control them. So if they're in a relationship with you and you're no longer trying to control people because you know it's better if they're free for everybody, then you are now asking a lot of questions instead of making statements with people. You instead of telling people what they think and telling people what they feel like, you're asking them what they think, and you're asking them what they feel like, and you're asking them what they want, and you're asking them what's valuable to them, and you're asking them, how would you like to relate to me, and what would be the most peaceful way you could relate to me, and rather than me guessing or trying to get you to relate to me the way I want you to relate to me. I ask a person, how do you feel safest relating to me? What would give you the most pleasure? What would give you the most peace? What do you feel free to do or not to do? Then I don't have to wonder. Because the people pretty much have some idea. You know, we kind of know who we're attracted to and who we feel open to and who we want to be close to. That's not really such a hard question. You know, some people open up to you more if they know that certain things are not going to happen. Like if you're out and you know, let's say if you're a man and you're out with a woman and she's absolutely clear that she doesn't want to be sexual with you, and she's absolutely clear that you won't mistake her openness as a come on to be that way, then she's going to relax and then allow you to feel her energy at a level you'd never feel it if she's like being cautious not to give the wrong indications. You know what I'm saying? So I'd much rather get that straight in the beginning. You know, like, okay, you don't have that kind of connection with me. I don't have that kind of, whatever. Okay, so let's just take that off the table right now, you know, and so that we can relax with each other. So that if I hold your hand, you can hold mine back because you're not wondering about, is the next thing I'm going to be holding is your nipple. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important. Unless, of course, that is a mutually desired act in total innocence. You know? Then it's much more healing and it's much more enjoyable for all concerned, right? But sometimes it's hard for people to realize it's just that easy. You know, coming from the male point of view, that it's just that easy. Just ask. Just ask. Just ask. You know, it's like if you're in a relationship and you are wondering if this person is really right for you or really into you or something like that. If you are willing to do it, the way you could save yourself a lot of time is ask your friends. I know that may sound weird, but you could ask your friends, you know, do they think that the person is really, really into you or right for you? It's not saying that they determine who your relationships with, but they're usually not as invested as you are in the fantasy. So they are actually could look at the whole situation because most of the time your friends know when you're walking right into something, just like you know when they are, and out of their respect for you. Because if you're conscious, you don't try. You operate from the prime directive from Star Trek, you know, which means you don't interfere. You know, so you trust that they know what's best for them, right? And if they ask you, then you be honest, because that's important. And then they'll make their own choice, and that's okay. And it's going to be okay either way it goes, because we just say even if it's disturbing, it's a blessing, and if it's cool. It's a blessing. So it's a win-win any way it go. But to want someone who doesn't want you is the most egotistical thing you could possibly do to yourself. Because that's the ego's rule. Seek and do not find. That's the rule of fear, is seek and don't find it. Your ego is actually most attracted to what is unavailable. Because nothing makes you feel more separate than rejection. So the ego is the idea of rejection. So your ego is actually looking for who's going to reject it. That's who I'm attracted to. Who's going to reject me is who I want. Took a long time to start getting to the point that I could really appreciate what I could have. You know what I'm saying? The grass was always green on the other side of the fence. Always. Always. Then you start to wake up and you go, wow, I'm being appreciated right here, right now, by this person, right now. Right now, their whole being is saying yes to me. Right now. I don't have to hunt. I don't have to try to get. It's here. If you don't love yourself, you don't see it. It could be right in front of your face, and you wouldn't see it. That's why you want to love more, love yourself more. Because then you see the love that's already there. And that's why he's saying that when you have stuff come up and you own it as being something that's inside of you, right? Then what you're doing is you're removing the blocks to the awareness of the love that you already have for yourself. And so when you are only aware of the love you have for yourself, that's when you just see the love that's there for you. And all of a sudden, it's not having to seek anything. It's just you're being willing to say, okay, I allow. It's okay. Isn't that cool? I know it may sound hard to believe because we're in those different stages of acceptance. You know. But I'm excited. I'm excited about what's already available that I can have right now without having to get it. Without the drive to get, but certainly having the drive to allow. I allow myself to be loved. I allow myself to be appreciated. I allow myself to be happy. I allow myself to be free. I allow myself to be abundant. I allow myself to criticize. I allow myself to get angry. I allow myself to make mistakes. I allow myself to forget who I really am sometimes. I allow myself to be stingy. I allow myself to be impatient. You know, when you do that, you take all the juice out of it. You take everything out of it that can cause you pain. Try it. Try to get so big you can put everything in your body. It was funny. I was talking about it the other night, and he was thinking about the new marijuana laws and stuff here. They have it here, and they said, and that was going to create a big tourism industry. And so they were thinking about opening up a bud and breakfast. I thought that was great, man. That was great, man. I wonder when they're gonna start inviting people. I love being around people who feel innocent around me and who will say anything around me. I like people to say anything around me, especially the stuff that they would feel the most guilty saying. Tell me your deepest, darkest shame. I want to hear it so that I can show you that you can still be loved anyway. What it would be like for you to be like, because you ever carry something around that you felt so much shame about, and you finally got to the point that you were willing to admit it to somebody, and they went, "Is that it?" That's the thing you're tripping about, and all of a sudden it's gone. So if there are people in your life that see you correctly, they're the best people in the world to share your deepest, darkest secrets and things like that with, that you want to be seen from a perspective of innocence, so that you will let it go. Because it's the guilt that makes you do it over and over again. It's the guilt that makes you go back and do it again, not the innocence. Tell me what a person feels guilty about, and I'll tell you what they're going to do again. I'll tell you exactly what they're going to do again. Tell me how guilty you feel, you're going to do it again. And so, see how that doesn't work in relationships? Because in relationships, the temptation is to make the person feel guilty in order to control them. I'm going to make you feel so guilty that you don't ever do that to me again. And so what they feel guilty about, they're going to do it again because they're doing it for the guilt. It's the guilt that they want. So if they know they're going to be more guilty, then they do it again. Because how many times have you done things that you feel guilty about over and over, even though you said you didn't want to do it again, you found yourself doing it? You'd be surprised at how many times. I feel guilty about smoking, couldn't quit, right? It's like, think about the things you feel guilty about, how much you're tempted to go right back and do them again. But if you called it a mistake, the Course in Miracles says if you call it a mistake, your mind won't want to do it anymore because your mind already is programmed not to what? Make a mistake. People hate to make mistakes. They want to be right. So the minute you call eating too much is a mistake, or allowing myself to do something is a mistake, instead of saying it's bad, wrong, or guilty, you'll stop it a lot faster if you take the good and bad out of it and just say it's a mistake. For me to seek out the person who's not interested in me is a mistake. Your man will go, well, I don't want to do that. Say having lack is a mistake. Not allowing myself to be loved is a mistake. Not seeing myself as innocent and a child of God is a mistake. Your man will, well, I mean, you need to see yourself as a child of God. That's a mistake. But if I say I'm guilty because I'm not kind and loving, then I'm still keep doing the thing that's not kind and loving to create the guilt. But if I say not being kind and loving is an error and a mistake, my mind won't want to do that. So just try. So all these things that I'm sharing is to save time. That's what this class is for. That's what I'm for. That's what my relationships are for. And that's what all relationships should be for, is to save time. So this is saving us time. If we were to go ahead and memorize this, like Joshua says, when I was being nailed to the cross, because the Way of Mastery is a channel book that claims to be channeled by Joshua or Jesus, correcting the errors of his teaching. And you don't have to believe that to benefit from it, by the way. When I was being nailed to the cross, there was one who raised the mallet to strike the nail. And he raised the mallet. His eyes met mine for just a moment. I'm getting ready to drive a nail through you. And I look at you, and you look at me, right? I did exactly what I have described to you, that whole process. Then it says, by this time I had mastered this process, so it was done very quickly. I asked myself, this is Jesus speaking, I asked myself, how have I ever wanted to drive a nail through someone else? Because Jesus wasn't no victim either. See, you got to get, like if all this stuff we're studying is true, then he wasn't a victim either. For some reason, that was his experience based on his choices, right? And I don't know, I'm not a Bible scholar, but the thing I noticed from reading the Bible was that Jesus said many times that he was going to be crucified. Like it wasn't like something he wasn't aware that was going to happen to him. He said he was born to go through that experience. But guilty minds focus on the crucifixion. Innocent minds focus on the resurrection idea. People who want to feel guilty and suffer, they go, you killed our Savior, we killed our, we horrible. And then people who want to really be empowered go, hey, the story says he resurrected, that his body, he wasn't killed. He was stronger than death. So if you want to feel innocent, you go with the fact that he lived. If you want to feel guilty, you go with the story of he was crucified for your sins. This depends on how you want to feel, right? So he says, I remembered my murderous thoughts. Woo, that's deep. So if I see a murderer or reading the paper about a murderer, I try to remind myself that they are a reflection of my murderous thoughts as I, kill fruit flies. Okay, now, because I'm juicing this stuff, right? So why they show up? It's like, so I haven't wiped out some fruit flies. You know what I'm saying? And I'm on like on the 10 most wanted list for fruit flies. You know what I'm saying? In their society, they got a big picture of me. So yes, I've murdered too. And I bet you have too. Yeah. So I forgave myself and brought my attention back to that one. So he says, I forgave myself, brought my attention back to the one who was getting ready to do the what? Drive the mallet, the nail through me. And I asked only to see the light in him. Wow. And I asked, what is it that this action is mirroring to me? What is it masking within him? And I saw that one's soul He said, and I saw that one's soul. He's talking about the person who's getting ready to attack him. And I loved that one's soul. And I felt compassion for that one. In that moment, mark my words, in that moment of eye contact, that one got it. Because my energy was different, it created the space in which that soul could make a new choice. Because my energy was different, it created the space that the other person that was my enemy, right, could make a new choice. Because my energy was different, it created the space in which that soul could make a new choice. That soul saw suddenly the entirety of its experience and realized that if it allowed that mallet to fall upon the nail, it would be a decision to choose to continue being nothing more than a doormat for other people's perceptions. And in that very instant, that soul that was about to nail the nail in me decided to follow a path that would lead to sovereign mastery and never again be a pawn of any government or any group or any faction or anyone. He dropped the mallet from his hand. This was a Roman soldier, stood up, walked away, and disappeared. That one has gone on to become a master that is known by literally thousands of beings. That's deep. Like we were just told exactly how you would change the energy of a person who would be your enemy. And the first thing you do is to understand that the enemy is mirroring something within you. And then ask for another way to look at it, just like he said. And then look at them in the eye from the perspective of who they really are and where they're really coming from. And it can create an entirely different transformation of the situation that you're going through. Now, I could spend the next week just on the two or three pages we covered tonight. This was deep.
Yeah.
This is some good stuff. And I want to acknowledge us for even being willing to hear it. So can we give it up for being willing to even hear it? Woo! Lord have mercy. So let's do the financial expression of appreciation, and I didn't bring the bag up here.
We'll just throw it at you. You want to do dance?
Those on the internet, thank you for watching the classes and the videos. And if you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, you can go to my website, earlpurdy.com. And I'm also available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions. And and you can do it. You can do it there also. One-on-one sessions for whatever it is you think is causing you to lose a lack of peace. We can work together and we can do that. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody here today. We're going to do the Course in Miracles Sunday at 1 to 2 o'clock. I'm blown away by what I heard tonight. I really heard that. I really heard that at a very, 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 here you go. You stick it in there. I'll just have some money in my head.
That's head money.
That's head money.
Is that for the button breakfast?
He's saving up for his investment.
Oh boy, I want a new perception of money. I want another way of looking at it. Course in Miracles says always just ask for the correct perception of anything that you want. Instead of asking for a relationship, you'd ask for the correct perception of a relationship. Instead of asking for money, you ask for the correct perception of money. Instead of I want a career, you say I want the correct perception of career. So he says the only thing that can ever be wrong is your perception.
Is there a part in the Course in Miracles that says
You got a dollar bill on your head. Are you gonna start
Great! I would have the dollar bill.
Are you gonna start dancing?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
the
That's
dollar
right.
dance.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Is there a part that says that the Holy Spirit knows what your rent is?
The Holy Spirit knows everything.
Yeah.
They better.
And I love how he says there's a section in the course, if you have the book, it's in the back, that's called, in the latest editions, it's called A Question of Payment. And it's the basic teachings that the course has about issues around payment and money. And it's really, really powerful. And it's basically saying that Spirit knows you think you have needs while you're here. Mm-hmm. And that you'll be given what you need to stay, provided that you're willing to fulfill your function, which is forgiveness. But it defines forgiveness as you're having the correct perception of everything. So forgiveness isn't I'm overlooking what I think you've done to me. Forgiveness is seeing correctly. And so like what we heard tonight was the correct perception of criticism, upset, and judgment. So our job is to see it the way we heard it tonight. That's forgiveness. And then there is, at that point, there's no block to your abundance, which is your natural state. And through natural ways that make sense to you, you will start to receive more. And that's very important, because it's not like the money would appear necessarily on this table, just poof. It would might to you, because that's the way you could accept it, it may seem to come through a raise on your job or a better job or somebody giving you some money because they came into some money. You see what I'm saying? Everything is going to come in a way that doesn't, he says, it's going to come in a way that doesn't increase your fear. Because it's through our right mind that we're going to accept the truth. So if we doubt our mind by thinking we're going crazy, that's not helpful. So if you said you wanted $1,000 and it appeared on the table, you would doubt your sanity. So it actually would freak you out more than the $1,000, and it would make you doubt your sanity. So it would be easier if the $1,000 came through an unexpected refund from your insurance that you didn't know that you were going to get. So you got to realize that we're going to be supported, but it's always in a way that won't freak our ego out, so that you won't frighten yourself. So the love is going to come to you in the level you can handle it, in the way that's going to work for you, to not be afraid to let it in. We are so blessed that what loves us is so gentle, and is trying to bring us to healing in such a gentle, loving way. Because we really are loved. We really are loved. Is that right? So I appreciate y'all. Thank you for coming and helping me hear this tonight. Woo! Yes. All right. So that was on page 35 in The Way of Mastery, The Way of the Heart. That would be worth going over again and again if you got the book. I know I am. I'm going to scan that. All right.